I am happy to be here in Addis Ababa, and determination we shall lay here the foundations for the continental union of African states.
The session resumed all night. At about 4:30 a.m. the charter was signed, and so it was really a triumph for Ethiopia's Pan-African diplomacy and the proudest moment of Africa at that time, really, because it was the first time in history that a single Pan-African organization was established to enable Africa to speak with one voice.
እኛ አፍሪካውያን በአሁኑ ጊዜ በዓለም ላይ የተለየ ስፍራ ይዘናል። ብዙ መቶ ዓመታቶች በጭቆና በባርነት የኖርን በመሆናችን ማናቸውም ህዝብ ነፃ ሆኖ ሊኖር ይገባዋል ብሎ ለመከራከር ከኛ የበለጠ ሊኖር አይችልም። እኛ አፍሪካውያን ብዙ መቶ ዓመታት ዳኝነትና መብት ተነፍገን የቆየን ስለሆን ዛሬ ትክክለኛ ዳኝነትና መብት ካለን ድምጻችንን በመናሰማበት ጊዜ ልንሰማ እንችላለን።
Has today brought together 32 heads of African states and governments in this historic city of Addis Ababa, in this beautiful setting.
The signing of the OAU Charter in Addis Ababa strengthened Ethiopia's commitment to be a platform for further Pan-African debates. It vested the country to become the beacon of freedom for all freedom-loving nations of the world.
Ethiopia has been inspirational for many liberation movements, for many black people, but even for freedom-loving white people, that those who support freedom actually supported Ethiopia.
The Cairo conference in 1964, I was a member of the Ethiopian delegation. In 1964, it was decided that Ethiopia should serve as headquarters of the OAU Secretariat, and Diallo Cheli, a Guinean, was elected the first Secretary General.
Since then, Addis Ababa has been serving as a nucleus for anti-colonial and anti-apartheid struggles and further advanced Pan-African ideals. OAU's biggest agenda was decolonization and liberation of African states from colonial supremacy. Inspired by the Pan-African movement, many African freedom fighters had struggled for independence from the yoke of colonialism and apartheid.
Total liberation of Africa had been the focal objective, the major objective of this organization. Because when this organization came into existence, the entire Africa was not independent. As we mentioned, only 32 countries were free, and they are the ones who came together and they foresaw the fast, speedy or rapid decolonization of the African continent.
Owing to its paramount historical legacy, political will of its leaders, Ethiopia has continued to be the natural place for anti-colonial and anti-apartheid struggles in Africa. Many African freedom fighters who later become leaders, including Nelson Mandela and Robert Mugabe, were trained in Ethiopia and supported by Ethiopia to eradicate colonial supremacy in their respective countries.
Ethiopia was a member of the Liberation Committee. Together with other African states, she assisted the Liberation Committee. Unilaterally, Ethiopia provided training for African freedom fighters like Mandela, you know, and later on like Mugabe and so on. So we even gave them passports, Ethiopian passports. Not only that, but also Ethiopia provided scholarships for African students from different parts of the continent. They came to study in Ethiopia University here, and they went back and they held prominent positions in their respective countries. So Ethiopia's support was Ethiopia gave overall support, you know.
Most of the leaders in SADC countries, in one way or another, we have got a lot of support, if not military support, if not financial support, diplomatic support and other kind of support. Mandela's first passport is Ethiopian. He never had until '94. He didn't have any passport except Ethiopian passport. He was trained here, like Mugabe also trained. Most of Zambian leaders, including Danda, the recent president, has been trained in Ethiopia. So most of them, they would seek Ethiopia's support during that time, and Ethiopia played an important role in this regard.
Tell me, can you feel it?
Ethiopia's commitment to Africa and the OAU has never been varied with change of governments. Rather, it is further strengthened and became solid through time. During the transformation of the OAU into the African Union, which was instigated in Sirte, Libya in 1999, Ethiopia played a prominent role both in initiating the idea, architecting the organizational structure, and scholarly contributing in drafting the new charter of the African Union.
The day Ethiopia had been at the forefront of forming the Organization of African Unity, as we have been talking, how she has effectively brought together those three different groups, and Ethiopia has devoted itself also for the strengthening of the Organization of African Unity. As a headquarter as well, it has contributed to the flourishing of this organization by hosting several assemblies of head of states and council of ministers, as well as other pertinent meetings that are pertinent with the African Union or OAU. Ethiopia has also played a very critical role during the transformation of the OAU into the African Union.
When the AU came into being as a successor of the OAU in Durban, South Africa in 2002, Ethiopia was supportive of the integrationist and interventionist objective of the organization. It is mainly because Ethiopia has always been looking for African brotherhood and mutual prosperity.
Every Ethiopian knows how it feels to be alone. We were alone on the table of the Europeans during the League of Nations, and we know what happened to us there. Now we are not alone. We have 53 African countries.
Ethiopia has always been victimized by external forces, and as such, it doesn't have the military or the economic power it needs to deflect all attacks. Long time ago, attacks from Italy, Italian invasion in 1930s, and during that time the call of Ethiopia was pledging for collective security, and that has played an important role for Ethiopia's support to the OAU.
Born out of this experience of victimization, Ethiopia has demonstrated its conviction for collective security by being upfront in peacekeeping efforts beyond Africa. Long before the interventionist essences of the African Union, Ethiopia had sent its troops under the auspices of the UN peacekeeping mission in Congo to promote peace and stability in that country in the 1960s. Later, As part of the objective of the AU to promote peace, security and stability in Africa, Ethiopia has played a leading role by sending its troops to various corners of Africa. In the 1994 genocide in Rwanda, Ethiopia was at the forefront of culminating the all-time upheaval of humanity. Ethiopian troops had accomplished their mission in Rwanda impressively, winning the hearts and minds of the people of Rwanda. The government of Ethiopia had played an immense role to convey a lasting solution to the turmoil in Rwanda through bringing the case to the attention of the international community.
The rationale for the establishment of this international panel is a vital need felt to look into the genesis of the 1994 genocide in Rwanda and into the surrounding events, with a view to finding out what went wrong in Rwanda during those tragic days for that country and its people to sink into such horror.
Recognizing the determination of Ethiopia to lasting peace and stability, the government of Rwanda has given its Supreme State Medal to the late Prime Minister Haile Selasie.
Ethiopia has really demonstrated the friendship, the brotherhood with my country. Because, as you know, it is in the bad situation that you recognize the real brothers, real friends. And just after the genocide, and I can say even during the genocide, Ethiopia has been on the side of Rwanda. Ethiopians have helped the struggle and the post-struggle.
Likewise, Ethiopia had played an important role in other peacekeeping missions in Africa, such as Burundi and Liberia at different times. These unshakable and fruitful peacekeeping missions won Ethiopia continental and global reputation.
Ethiopia has been known for sending peacekeeping forces whenever conflicts arise in different African countries. We sent an effective peacekeeping forces to Liberia, Rwanda, Burundi, currently Somalia, even Abeys in the Sudan. So this shows how Ethiopia is committed to the peace and stability of Africa. It shows also how Ethiopia is committed to the strengthening of the OAU as well as the AU. So in Ethiopian foreign policy, a place where Ethiopia has been consistent all the way, where we have shown a continuity of our foreign policy commitment is one of the areas is our commitment to our African brothers and sisters.
Currently, Ethiopia is actively participating in peacekeeping mission in Darfur, Sudan, which shows its commitment for ensuring peace and security for people of the Sudan. Similar mission is also found in Abyei, one of the disputed areas between South Sudan and the Sudan. From the very beginning, Ethiopia has also contributed for peaceful negotiation and agreement for both the South Sudan Liberation Movement, SPLM, and the government of the Sudan since the Addis Ababa Agreement in 1972.
Ethiopia has also contributed on peace and security issues directly, from negotiating peace settlement in our neighbors, which we are doing now, between South Sudan and North Sudan, which started in 1972 with the Addis Ababa Agreement, which Emperor Haile Selasie brought both Khartoum